most of those music artists are also ones that are speakers as well. Mm-hmm. And so they didn't want to have somebody booking their music and then us booking their speaking engagements. So we kind of handle both.
Do you have any favorite speakers that you like working with?
Oh, they're all my favorite.
Nice.
They're like my children.
I was going to say that's like a Papa agent answer.
This is the Mostly Middle Tennessee Business Podcast, a podcast about Middle Tennessee business owners and professionals. Mostly.
So are you guys big fans of the Better Business Bureau over the past, since you've been doing this, Greg?
Abigail, that one's for you.
I think they've been great. They're really helpful, and I like knowing that people can trust. We know that we're trustworthy, but to have that backing so other people can trust us, I think it's great.
They're going after Buc-ee's, though. Have you seen that recently?
No.
Yeah. They gave them an F.
Oh, wow.
Do you know why?
No. I actually put it on my Instagram, my Facebook. This morning I said, how does this affect your opinion of Buc-ee's and or the Better Business Bureau? And
yeah.
It's funny the comments that are popping up, but I'm like...
I might have to rethink my answer now.
Well, it's one of those things I'm like, guys, this isn't going to work out for you. People love Buc-ee's.
Have you seen the bathroom?
Yeah.
Really? You want to? This is your play? This is the hill you're dying on? But anyway, this is the Mostly Middle Tennessee Business Podcast. I am your host, Jim McCarthy, with the podcast, as it were. Guys, as you always know, you can always reach out to mmtbp.com to find out more. If the episode resonates with you, please share it, rate, review, all that fun stuff. And if you want to be a podcast episode guest on the show, there's a link there where you can fill out a form, comes right to us. We'll likely get back to you and let you know if we're a fit and all that fun stuff. But it also is coming to you from the Christian Brothers Automotive of Spring Hill Studios. My buddy Jason Miller over there does a great job. He's got the best snack game in town, and they're right there downtown Spring Hill, even though we really don't have a downtown, but it's Wall Street. And it is powered by Muletown Bikes there on the square in Columbia. So my guy Vinny Tavares is down there. Have you guys gotten into the e-bike thing? You get annoyed by them, or do you pedal? You do any sort of biking at all?
My wife and I have a bike, but it's not powered. It's powered by our legs.
You guys have a tandem bike?
No, we do not. We do not.
It's a side by side. I'm doing the whole e-bike thing because at age 50, I want to really look forward to my workouts and enjoy them, and burn some calories. But I don't like hills.
Yeah,
so
it's like sneaky burning calories.
I'm still pedaling.
Yeah,
that's what people don't get.
Yeah.
Even though I look like I've eaten a small child, it's, these things kind of happen. But welcome to the show. We got Greg Oliver and Abigail Garrett, both from GOASpeakers.com. We recently just launched your podcast, the GOA Speakers Podcast, where you're having, at the moment, it's a great approach to kind of help promote the business and, of course, promote the speakers that you guys represent. How's it going so far? Are we treating you well?
Yeah, it's going really well. We, just launched 2 weeks ago. So, just allowing space for our speakers to be able to tell their story. And, some of them have just incredible, amazing stories. So it's fun to get to let them share what's on their heart.
And that's the thing is that you, like offline before we started, we talked about, I have a bit of a frustration because everybody, in my opinion, these days wants to be a speaker. Especially inspirational in the business sphere. They want to be a Tony Robbins kind of, and there's not a bad thing about wanting to inspire people, but it's like, my gosh, there's an onslaught of talent now. And how do you kind of navigate? I mean, are you getting hit up constantly with people?
Oh yeah, we get, we probably get one a day of people contacting us, wanting us to represent them as a speaker. And I would say 9 out of 10 we pass on, just because they're usually in that space of, developing their speaking career. we kind of have certain criteria that we look at when we're evaluating a speaker. We want to know what kind of honorariums they're getting. We want to know, who their book publisher is, how many books they have out, what kind of social media following they have, because all those things are important. We can't be the only driver to market a speaker.
Right.
It's just, people think it's that easy. So, when I sign speakers, I always coach them on the fact that, now listen, this is a process that takes time. It's not like I have, 10 speaking events in my back pocket that the minute you sign with me, I'm going to pull them out of my pocket and I'm going to send them to you. That's just not the way it works. If a client is reaching out to us and they're wanting to book a speaker, they want a speaker now, not that speaker that I'm going to sign in 2 months from now.
Right.
They want a speaker right now, and they have a specific event and a specific theme, and they're very specific about what they want. Yeah. And so, anyway.
Do you find that you come across people on social media that you reach out to often, or does that happen?
More times than not. The way that we sign speakers are either through another one of our speakers recommending their friends, or it'll be a speaker that we have booked some events for and it went really well and they liked working with us. And then they're like, hey, would you take me on as a speaker client?
Well, it's like almost like being discovered, a band getting discovered in a way.
Kind of,
yeah. They'll put some media out on the socials and, they can either go it alone and, obviously if they're doing something right, they'll start hearing from agencies, record labels, management, that kind of thing. There's a lot of, but you're mostly in the, you want to make sure that they're in the Christian space. That's a big differentiator for you guys as well.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, we have some clients that do corporate things, but all of the speakers that we represent are all in the faith-based, Christian world.
All believers.
Yeah, all believers. Yeah, for sure.
Or they kind of cross, they toe the line and do both.
Right.
So we book them for both.
Well, I mean, that is kind of the mission field, isn't it? You got to, speak to all the people. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. We have one of the speakers that we have is a guy named Bryce Kinney. I don't know if that name rings a bell with you, but he is a current monster truck driver. So he's out on the monster truck driver tour. And by the way, your theme at the beginning, that would have gone well with, it kind of was like, reminded me of monster truck driver.
Sunday. Remember those commercials?
But Bryce Kinney, he does quite a bit of corporate events, and then also does a lot in the faith-based world as well. So, we have James Brown, who's the host of the NFL Today on CBS. We represent him. He does a lot of corporate things as well as Christian.
Scott Hamilton just did a corporate.
That's true.
Yeah,
nice. And this is worldwide. You're booking for them.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. What is your typical operations on an ongoing basis? How do you go about doing what you do?
Can you be a little more specific?
Process oriented.
Hit the gym. Hit
what's your day like?
I got so excited I plugged off my headphones. I got too jazzed. I knocked off my headphones.
Well, let me rephrase. You've been doing this since 1991 on some form, not with the speakers, but you started out differently.
Yeah. Let's
go before that and talk about what did you do that led up to this? Did you have an entrepreneurial childhood, entrepreneurial parents, anything like that?
I really have worked for myself almost my entire life. I started my first business when I was 17. And
what business was it?
It was a janitorial service. We did commercial and residential cleaning.
Oh, I didn't know this.
Yeah. And so I just have always loved working for myself and building. I love to build things. And then, when it grows, sometimes I hand it off and, move on to building something else.
That really is the passion.
Yeah.
Being in love with the process.
Yeah.
It's the marathon, guys.
And then I started this was in the mid 80s, early 90s. I started a Christian nightclub or coffee house. Mm-hmm. And when you say coffee house, people think really small, like the venue that we had could hold 1,000 people. Yeah. And we would bring in Christian music concerts 52 weekends a year.
Oh, wow. That's a grind.
Every single weekend. And the artist would be with us for a 2-night, Friday night, Saturday night for 2 shows. Mm-hmm. And it kind of became the premier venue. This was in Texas, in Dallas, Fort Worth, where I grew up. And, it kind of became the premier venue for Christian music. Anybody who, some of the bigger names in Christian music at the time, that would play arenas, a Michael W. Smith or an Amy Grant or whatever, they're playing arenas and 1,000 seats was too small for them. But all the up and comers, Stephen Curtis Chapman.
Was Toby Mac one of them?
No, Toby wasn't. He kind of, I don't know what, I think that was in their DC Talk days whenever I had that, and they were more of an arena act. So
I thought, I first heard of DC Talk at my first radio gig in Connecticut for the home of rock and roll, I-95. We played one of their songs.
Really?
On a classic rock, somewhat of an active rocker, at least when it got dark. And it's so funny. I can't remember the name of the song, but man, the singer sounded like Freddie Mercury. And it was such a great song. I still go back and listen to it.
Yeah.
I wish I knew what it was. I'll if I find out what it was, I'll put it up in the description.
Yeah.
Look it up.
Yeah. It's a great, it came out right around 99, 2000, maybe even 98. Yeah. But, oh my gosh. I mean, soaring vocals, the whole 9 yards. The guy sounded just like Freddie Mercury.
Yeah.
I have no idea who it was, but it was DC Talk. I don't think it was Toby Mac who was singing, but yeah.
Whatever you want to film, wherever you want to film it, we can film your show from just about anywhere. Want to film a special episode of your podcast in a new location? We can do that for you. How about creating your short form video content at home or in your office? We can do that for you. Whatever you want to film, wherever you want to film it, it's your show. We just produce it for you.
So anyway, I did the Christian nightclub or concert promoting, I guess, if you want to call it that, for about 8 years, something like that. And then that kind of led into booking. I had a lot of local and regional acts that would open for these nationally known artists that would come in. And so these regional and local acts were like, can you help us find places to play? And, we had lots of youth pastors that would bring their youth groups to our, venue for the different concerts. And so, I started booking these regional and local bands all over Texas. And then some of the national artists heard that I was doing booking. They're like, hey, if you can get me dates, sign me up. And so in 1992, I guess, I started in 91, and then 92, I signed my first 3 nationally known artists, and I was like, they have radio airplay and all of this. This is amazing. And then just kind of continued to build the agency there in Texas. And then in 1994, and this was pre-internet, pre-email. Yeah. And so I knew if the company was going to grow, I needed to move to Nashville. And so moved my family and the company, moved to Nashville. And as they say, the rest is history.
Was it a vastly different experience moving from DFW to Nashville?
Well, I do remember the very first night after we moved
Were there other people in the space, more importantly, that were doing the same thing you were doing?
Oh, yeah. There were major agencies. At the time, there was like the William Morris Agency and CAA and several others that were doing Christian music booking as well. And, when the first night that I was here, when you take a big leap like that, none of my family had ever left Texas. Mm-hmm. And, I was kind of the first one to go, okay, I'm going to move off to Nashville and see if I can make a go of this. And
I'm only 11 hours away.
Right. They all thought, my family thought I was crazy, but,
look at them now.
But I remember that first night laying in bed after we had spent all day driving and moving and all that sort of thing. And just looking at this bare ceiling and the bare walls going, what have I done?
And you had little kids at that point.
I did. I had
or just one.
Yeah, just one. Mm-hmm. I had my wife, of course, and then Lisa, and then my oldest son, Brad. He was 4, I think, at the time.
Yeah.
That we moved here. So, it was kind of scary, but I just knew that Nashville was where I needed to be.
When did it start feeling like home? Like home base?
It was probably 4 or 5 years in.
Really?
The first 4 or 5 years was like, I think the music industry is a little bit like, they're not sure if they want to let you into their club. Are you serious? You're not in our circle kind of thing. And it took about 4 or 5 years before they were like, okay, this guy's legit. He knows what he's doing.
He's sticking around. He's like a cockroach. He just won't go away. Because that's a friend of mine says that he's the drummer for Jason Aldean, and he's a great friend of mine, Rich Redmond. And that's what he always said when he got to town in '97. He's like, you just got to be a cockroach. You got to keep showing up. Because he said a similar sentiment, like it's a club and you ain't in it until they keep seeing you show up.
Right.
That's a thing here. I'm not sure if it's still like that. Yeah. Because these kids these days seem to have it a lot easier.
Yeah. It's a little less that way.
I don't know about all that.
I wonder if we could come up with something other than a cockroach.
I do have you in my phone as that, but no, I'm just kidding.
Wow.
Something that's really persistent.
A mule, maybe stubborn. Can that work?
Yeah, you could do. He's not.
How do you feel about
that? I'm not buying that one either. But anyway, we'll come up with something.
Sure. But they stick around and don't go away. It's tough to get rid of them, and that's the metaphor.
Yeah.
So it's funny because when I moved to Vegas for the first time for my radio career, going from Connecticut to Vegas, I remember that feeling of, because we moved 2,000 miles away from anything we've ever known. My wife to be, her family was like, okay, is this really a good idea? But I'm like, I saw it. I was like, hey, it's a big adventure.
Yeah.
We're at the right age in life. We're in our 20s. This is the next step for the career, so on and so forth. I wanted to work in New York, and I actually had an opportunity to work on Long Island. It was either between Long Island and Vegas, and we decided with Vegas, and we're glad we did. But I remember going to get pizza across the street. We had just moved into our apartment. And we're just getting settled and stuff like that. I'm still trying to figure out the building. I went from being a really big fish to a minnow in an ocean. Mm-hmm. It was like a good training ground for what developed me into what I became. But I remember going across the street to bring lunch to my wife. Really expensive California pizza. Like the pizza was maybe the size of a 10-inch drum head. And it was like $25.
No.
And I'm going, oh my gosh. And on the menu, it had all the other locations of this particular restaurant in the tri-state area, being California, Arizona, and Nevada. Mm. And when I saw that, I'm going, wow, that's reality right there. I am far from anything I am familiar with. Yeah. Seeing a menu with states on the West Coast was like a real eye-opener for me.
Yeah.
It's like one of those indelible memories I'll never forget.
Yeah.
That pizza better have been good, because what was New York? New York has some good pizza.
Yeah.
It took us 3 years to find good pizza out there.
Yeah.
I bet that was quite the shock from Connecticut to Vegas, huh?
It was definitely a positive not a shock, but a positive experience because we were so used to how uncivilized we were in the Northeast. I always call the Northeast the armpit of the country, and there's a reason for that. But moving out there, it's like we'd be going to the supermarket, and all of a sudden the checkout person would talk to you. Mm-hmm. And we'd be like, you talking to me? Looking around, you going, seriously? Yeah. Like you're actually engaging with me right now? I don't know how to handle this. Funny. And then, they sat, there was one story where both of them were having like a volleyball conversation over the customers' heads. And one cashier was talking about her new boyfriend's ex-girlfriend wanted to take her to lunch to talk about the situation. What should I do? And they were going about it. I'm minding my own business. Of course, I'm within earshot, hearing what they're talking about. And, well, what should I do? And I'm sitting there minding my, sir, yes. Are you talking to me? Like, what do you think I need to do? I go,
that's so funny.
And I said, well, it's a free lunch. And she goes, I never thought about that. I think I'm going to go. I said, you're welcome. Just literally like, okay, get me out of here. What just happened? I mean, true story. So it was a positive impact because even then we were realizing, wow, we never aspired to own a house in Connecticut because everything was so expensive. Yeah. And then we were able to buy our first house out there and so on and so forth.
Nice.
So, yeah. Mm. I never wanted to work in New York again after that.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I bet.
Big perspective shift. Huge.
Yeah.
So post 1994, you move here. Everything starts rocking and rolling so you're probably looking at 98, 99 when you're starting to be accepted.
Right? Kind of. Yeah. And then several years after that, that's when we started the Speakers Bureau. Mm-hmm. We also started a merchandising company as well. And so I just really felt like that we needed to diversify our company and not just be, kind of in one thing. So we would have multiple streams of income. And, the merchandise company continued to grow. And I brought my oldest son, Brad, on board with that business to kind of run that. And he's done a phenomenal job with that. We changed the name of that company to Culture Apparel. And he recently bought me out of my side of that company, and now he owns that completely. And then, so we started the speakers thing, and that has just really exploded over the last probably 15 years, I guess. It's going really, really well.
Was that kind of a thing where the market told you where to go?
Somewhat. Yeah. It's just, with music acts, there's just a lot of detail. There's a lot of there's 32-page writers and production people that have to speak into the offers and to try to get a music artist to say yes to a date. This sometimes can be challenging. Yeah. Whereas on the speaker side, it's really less that way. It's pretty much if the date's open and it falls within the parameters of what that speaker's comfortable doing, it's a yes. Yeah. There's just, it's a microphone and a bottle of water and, let's...
No removing of the brown M&Ms.
Right.
And you've spoken about like just the gratitude that you've seen on the speaker side, I think. Like they're just so grateful for your partnership. And I think that's been...
much more appreciation.
And I loved and do love my, the music industry. But it feels a little bit like what have you done for me lately? Mm-hmm. At times, and there's not a lot of, just appreciation and like, hey man, thanks for, being my agent for 25 years or whatever it's been. It's like, how about the next tour? How about the next thing, And where it just seems like the speaker side of it, they're just, every event that you bring them, they're just so thankful. you know,
and responsive.
And they respond quickly. And so anyway.
Did you kind of ramp down the concert booking thing?
Yeah, we about 2 years ago, we kind of made a little bit of a shift to focus more on speakers and a little less on the music side of things. We still have a handful, maybe 5 or 6 music artists that we book, but most of those speakers are ones that. Most of those music artists are also ones that are speakers as well. And so they didn't want to have somebody booking their music and then us booking their speaking engagements. So we kind of handle both.
Do you have any favorite speakers that you like working with?
Oh, they're all my favorite.
Nice.
They're like my children.
I was going to say that's like a Papa agent answer.
Right. Yeah.
Well, looking at the website, I mean, I believe you just brought on Willie Robertson with Duck Dynasty.
Yeah.
I mean, is it the notoriety of what you've done and your reputation? Did he come to you? Did you seek him out?
That was one, like I mentioned earlier, where we had booked several events for him and they went really, really well. Yeah. And we had also signed Al and Lisa Robertson, who are also from Duck Dynasty. Al Robertson's the oldest of the brothers. And they kind of saw what we were doing with them and how busy they were. And so they were like, hey, let's work together.
Wow, so, very cool.
It was that cockroach thing again. Yeah. They were like, they're
it's
always
not a
here.
bad thing.
Right.
You know what I mean? Just you stick around.
I'm from Texas. So cockroaches in Texas are not like Tennessee.
You can ride them.
Cockroaches are in Texas. They say you can saddle them and ride them. So they're that big.
Well, I mean, you got, John Maxwell on here. That guy's a heavyweight, man. That's in the speaking, especially with inspirational business leadership concepts. Scott Hamilton, Lee Strobel. I mean, that's, the case for Christ. My goodness. Yeah. Gary Chapman, another heavy hitter.
Yeah.
And there was other one, even Kevin
Strobel.
Yes, thank you.
And then
great with names, I am.
Yeah. On the female side too, we have Lisa TerKeurst, who actually we kind of revamped our YouTube channel a few years ago, and one of her videos went viral. I uploaded a keynote she did at, I forget what church it was, but it was a message about resetting your heart. And she talked about Genesis and Joseph's story in Genesis. And it just went crazy. Like, we still get thousands of views on that. And I uploaded a couple of years ago. So she's another one I think who's really relevant on the female side of things. So it's been fun to work for her.
Does your garage door sound like this? If it does, it's screaming for help. Call Incredible Doors, 931-348-DOOR. We're making garage doors in Murray and Williamson counties work better and sound better. We just make them incredible again. Go to IncredibleDoors.com or call 931-348-DOOR. Follow us on Facebook for specials on maintenance visits, keypads, and other items. 931-348-DOOR. IncredibleDoors.com.
Again, I told you this was a meandering conversation, very real. It just popped into my head. Are you seeing an increase in business, especially in the previous few years, a little bit more demand?
You said it's gotten busier.
Yeah, I think it has. COVID was obviously rough. Live events just went off the cliff, and I think one of the things that during COVID, that if we had not had our merchandising company that I talked about earlier that we started, I'm not sure we would have made it. Because really what we were doing in live events with music and with speakers was just rescheduling things. Right. We were like, okay, let's reschedule this event from spring to fall. Oh, by fall, surely this will be over with. Yeah. And then when it started getting closer to fall, then, right.
Yeah. You did some virtual stuff, right?
Yeah, we did a few virtual events, but and then people were kind of like, oh, virtual's where it's at, and the live events are never going to come back. And I was like, that's just not true.
Yeah.
That's just, there's nothing like a live experience, you know, seeing a concert online versus being there and experiencing that, or hearing somebody speak and the way that it makes you feel and the way that it moves you. You just can't get that online.
Just the air pressure fluctuations from the speakers, the actual physical speakers make a difference.
Yeah.
Not only just at a conference or a concert, but I mean, you get a very charismatic speaker up there. He can move the air. She can move the air. You know, you feel that energy.
Yeah.
And you've got the pull of like meet and greets and stuff too for someone that people have been reading their books or listening to them for years. So then to be able to offer a meet and greet is a whole separate commitment that we handle that's so special that you can't have if it's all virtual.
So you're booking for existing events. Are you working with the event coordinator?
Mostly it's existing events. We have kind of explored a few times with some tours with our speakers where, you know, it would be more of a hard ticket thing. They're on a bus and it's, you know, city to city like you would with a music tour.
Like comedians more so, right? We've had some tours.
Some with comedians. 'Cause we do have comedians. We have some pro athletes. We have Bible teachers. We have all different kinds of speakers. And if anybody's curious, they can go to GOA Speakers.com.
That's where I am right now.
That's right.
It's one of the people that pops into mind mentioning comedians is an acquaintance of mine. I've met him a few times in my career. Jim Brewer. Remember Goat Boy from Saturday Night Live?
Oh.
He's getting on a very Christian tract.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know if that's something that, you know, hey, maybe let's start watching, paying attention, and you know, I'm sure he's got representation and stuff like that, but I don't know, just something possibility. These things randomly pop into my head, and I'm a connector. So if there's any way I can connect somebody, I try to.
Sure.
So at one point you mentioned I call it the 3 legs to the stool, right? Sustaining a business.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about the days that, like, you know, in early businesses, and I think a lot of business owners and entrepreneurs go through this, and they might feel alone. They might feel inadequate. There's an element and an urgency to keep gas in the tank. What other ventures, like ideas, did you kind of entertain in those days, especially 2 years after moving from Texas, and then a 5-year grind, which another concept that I talk about is it takes about 5 years to really see if you've got something in business.
Right.
Not only that, you move to an entirely new town, new relationships you have to make, all the things. What were some of the things that you tried in those early days, if there were any?
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned the grind. I mean, it very much was that. I would work many times, 12-hour days.
What did that involve, though? I mean, what were you doing? What was a daily grind like?
A daily grind was, back then, there was no internet, no emails. So it was, smiling and dialing, it was picking up the phone and calling people. And, then in the evenings, I would do all my paperwork because it was at that point, it was just a one-man show. Yeah.
It's all analog.
And so, I'd do all my paperwork, issue all my contracts, send out, press kits or, whatever, CDs.
Lots of manila folders.
Yes. The old manila folder. Bubble mailer actually is what it was. And so, I would send out all kinds of press material and stuff to people and then, follow-up phone calls and, hey, did you get that? Did you get a chance to listen to it?
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to book that music artist or speaker or whatever? And it was kind of the grind like that for 4 or 5 years, and then started having some success and signing some bigger artists, and people began to trust us and with their artist. And I remember one manager that I was really trying to sign this particular artist, and I was trying to think of a creative way of how can I go into this manager's office and say, you need to let us book you. Mm-hmm. And so I thought, and back, I don't know, what your listenership, how old they are. But back in those days before internet and email, my phone bill was very thick. Mm-hmm. And, it had all the outbound phone calls, long distance calls that I would make. And so I took my phone bill in and I threw it down on this manager's desk. And I said, the proof is in the pudding right here. This is, we make outbound phone calls. We don't just sit around and wait for the phone to ring. Mm-hmm. And we're aggressive, and we ended up signing that artist.
Wow. What a concept.
So, yeah.
That's very creative. Yeah. That's almost like that's social proof. That's in terms of, that's what we know as social proof today.
Right.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
I would never think of doing that.
Well,
good for you. And when did you have that kind of epiphany? Kind of like, you saw it was like a light shown on the phone bill and you were like, wow, that's kind of an idea. Let me
more return on investment.
It just as that phone bill just got bigger and bigger, the more phone calls I made, I thought, you know what, this
it shows I'm doing the work.
It's data. Yeah. It's data that proves that we're doing the work.
How thick was the pile typically?
Oh gosh, it was
a couple inches or
yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it was thick.
Gosh, you're making hundreds of calls a day at that point.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, hundreds.
Were you at least paying decent, per minute rates?
I don't remember. I remember our phone bill was our biggest expense.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, our phone bill was, because back in those days, they charged you for every long distance call you made.
Yeah.
I mean, if that doesn't make you have concise pitches, I don't know what I would be like.
Abigail, is that really weird for you to know that once upon a time we had to pay for every call we made?
Well, my first phone, I had minutes.
Did you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it wasn't like I didn't have a physical stack of bills, but my first phone was a Samsung Impression. It was like the kind where you could scoot it up and text or go to the side. Yeah. So, and then it had buttons and a partial touchscreen, but it wasn't a smartphone. I definitely got lost. I didn't have a GPS.
MapQuest?
Yes.
Nice.
Oh, and I would have to print it out for my mom too. But so I did have a brief period before when I remember I only had a certain number of minutes. So I was kind of right on the turn of that where I remember, but yeah, it's still, and we had a home phone when I was little too. So still remember that phone number.
Hi, I'm Jason Miller. I'm the owner of Christian Brothers Automotive here in Spring Hill, Tennessee. We fix cars here, both European and domestic, from simple oil changes to complete engine rebuilds and replacements. Most important thing, though, is while you're waiting, we've got the best snack game in town, and we invite you to make yourself at home and get to know us, and we treat you like family. We're located right across the street from Walmart on Highway 31 right here in Spring Hill. Let us know that you heard about us on this ad, and we'll give you 10% off your next oil change. So stop on in and see us in downtown Spring Hill. Do we even have a downtown in Spring Hill?
You always see these stories on the internet about riders and things of that nature. Got to ask, craziest rider you've ever seen?
Oh gosh, I haven't really seen that many crazy riders. I've heard the stories of riders, and I don't. Probably some listeners may, the pink towels and green M&Ms story. I think the way that story goes is that I think it may have been the Rolling Stones or somebody. I don't remember. Somebody pretty big.
The brown M&Ms was Van Halen. I know
was
that.
It?
Yeah.
Yeah. They would, at the end of their rider, they would ask for only solid colored M&Ms so that they knew that it wasn't because they were being divas. It was to know if they walked in the green room and there were only green M&Ms there, then they knew they read the rider.
That's smart, actually. That's fair.
Yeah.
So
a little gotcha.
Yeah.
Was there any sort of backlash if you didn't have the rider accurate? Or was there something that they could claim against you or anything?
Not really. It's just probably they would never, let that promoter, book that artist again, or that speaker again.
So Abigail, how did you get involved in all this madness?
Yeah, madness is good. No, I'm just kidding. Actually, a friend at church, a mutual friend of Greg and I think when you were trying to grow your team, had made a Facebook post or something that ended up in a Facebook page that I was in, and my family knew that I was kind of looking for a new job, and I kind of have a weird resume. So I had worked in like assisted living facilities and all kinds of stuff, but my background was PR. So I had done public relations, communications, social media, that kind of thing. So I found out about Greg and his company from a mutual friend, and then started as an admin, and realized that I loved it. It's a very detail oriented position. So I was like, okay, this feels like some of the things that don't work well in other settings work well here. So I can hopefully be valuable. And then just recently, after I had my baby, started doing marketing stuff. So it's been great for the last 3.5 years. It's been, I've been so thankful to be able to work with Greg.
Well, a lot of it is it's very similar to what I do with it'syourshow.co, producing so many different podcasts from a social media marketing standpoint. For me, I just share the clips that I come up in my feed. It's kind of easy peasy. I could probably be doing a lot more with my marketing in terms of that. But I mean, hey, I can just take 5 minutes and share a bunch of things, put them up as stories or whatever. Yeah. And it shows the breadth and complexity of all the different kinds of podcasts we produce. Is that something you guys are doing with, your speakers putting up clips or excerpts from their speeches? Do you share them on your socials as well?
I do. That's kind of like a daily task that I have set for myself each day to share. Our Instagram is primarily sharing their content because that's,
hey, we represent them.
Yeah, we're kind of the invisible guy. Like we're the one, not a matchmaker, but the one puffing other people up. We're their champion.
Yeah.
So to share their story or their keynote, that's what we do. So yeah, usually every day our Instagram is me sharing stories, and then Twitter posts. And then sometimes when we have a good clip, we'll share, like we had, what is it? The Baptist convention. What is it called? I'm losing the name, but we shared Sheila Walsh's keynote, and that one got like thousands of views because it was just a really good little tidbit of who she is, and it was really encouraging. And so those are like gold mines for us when we could share something that captures someone really well.
Absolutely. Yeah. You have a lot of what we do is very similar, in terms of how we market ourselves and stuff like that. Always keeping in mind other ways to kind of fuel the tank, like we talked about earlier. In the early years, whatever puts gas in the tank, until you can have a little bit of discernment of what legs to the stool will support the business and sustain it. One of the things that crossed my mind just now, I'm like, would social media management for your artists be a thing to explore at some point?
I don't know. I've not really.
This is what the podcast does.
Yeah.
Conversation begets creativity.
Yeah, I don't know that I've
such
ever
a beast. It's like its own.
Yeah, and there's whole companies out there like one of our comedians that we represent. We just hired a social media company to create content and help drive attention to their socials.
Yeah.
So it really can be a full-time job.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And events is really what we do. So I doubt that would be anything we would want to do, but Abigail does a great job at handling hours because I like the events and the sales part. I like doing that part. I don't so much like the marketing part. So that's what she's good at. That's what she's good at.
It's been fun lately on top of social media to do our email campaigns. I love writing. So it's been really fun to be kind of like a ghost writer who, again, gets to puff up. I get to share people's stories. And again, with like a PR journalism kind of background, it's so fun to get to, like, one time I just had like an hour-long phone call with one of our speakers, Tadashi, who he's another one who's an artist and a speaker. And I just got to ask him questions for like an hour and then write about him. And it was so fun because it felt like I got to flex that muscle again. And then he also gets to get exposure, and people can hear parts of his story that you can't always get from, a little blip on Spotify or whatever, a little bio. So it's been fun to see the different mediums that we can use to get the word out about people.
What's your email open rate? Like, do you look into those things?
disclose that.
Well, I mean, ballpark or anything like that. Because I'm curious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It depends. So our newsletters, I do a monthly newsletter, and that is like kind of more exhaustive. Like I try to share either insights in the speaker world in general or stuff about us in general, and then highlight one of our speakers. That goes to our whole database, which, as I'm sure you know, if it's your whole audience, the open rate is kind of brutal.
Yeah.
So sometimes that can be in like 15 to 25,
which is good.
Range.
I mean, that's pretty par for the course. Yeah.
But yeah, when we work with like pregnancy centers, I was just telling Greg, when we have a targeted audience, the open rate is higher.
Right.
Then we can get into the 30s. And we were just talking about Willie Robertson. When we did an email blast on him, we were like, whoa, people will look at their email if they're excited about someone. So
it's
that
heck of a feather in your cap. Absolutely.
That one got a little bit of attention on that one.
I was like, Greg, was that because of my subject line, my amazing subject line I wrote? And he was like, I think it's because of Willie.
It always comes down to the subject line. It really does. That's the key that opens the door.
Yeah.
And
it was
the reason why
him though.
The reason why I ask is that, I'm honestly quite surprised you're not using AI or anything like that. You're really writing them. And what I've found is that when I do that, I'm guilty of using AI as well. But when I actually write something, if I make phone calls to somebody, if I'm writing something to somebody, I put in parentheses, written by a human.
Yeah.
You would have, it's unbelievable the open rates you get.
It's kind of sad. Yeah. I would
suggest that tactic.
Yeah.
You're doing it, might as well.
That's true. Yeah. I try to toe the line because, I can use AI as like a supplemental resource to be more concise because I can be, I can go off and get too flowery. So I kind of use it to bridle me.
Right.
So everything is like a combination of me and AI. But yeah, there's something special there's sometimes where I'll use a word that I very purposely was like, this vocabulary needs to be in here. And AI will change it. I'm like, I'm not changing that. I'm keeping it. I want that word in there. That was my choice.
You guys talk about comedians being on the roster.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Are you're booking the speeches for them, but are they also working the comedy circuit? Is that something you guys are working to?
Some of them, some of them are squarely in the church type comedians. And then some of them, like J.J. Barrows, and we work some with Johnny W. Some of those kind of guys do comedy clubs and that sort of thing. So we don't do a ton of comedy clubs, but some.
Johnny just got off a tour with Nate Bargatze.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, that's awesome. Who better to tour with? I feel like that's got to be such a blast.
Well, you're seeing a lot of these online guys. John Christ comes to mind. He's a Christian guy.
Right.
Very refreshing, Nate Bargatze-esque type of approach to his comedy. Mm-hmm. It's clean. It's funny.
Yeah.
It's real. Trey Kennedy being another one. I don't know if you know
Leanne Morgan is one.
Really?
As well. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. We don't represent her, but Leanne Morgan is hilarious. Mm. She's just in the last, 4 or 5 years, she has blown up.
Yeah. Christ has too.
He has. Yeah.
I remember seeing a lot of his stuff, I don't know, probably 7 or 8 years ago, and really enjoying it. He was his demeanor, his charisma, and everything is very infectious. Mm-hmm. But my goodness, has he been successful?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're very refreshing to see that.
Yep.
And you guys brought JJ in here.
We did.
We had a great episode with her.
Yeah.
She's the latest one.
Just released her episode yesterday. Yeah.
As at the time of this recording. So, make sure, because that one was really good because it's a lot of authenticity, realness. She brought a lot of, dare I say, vulnerability to the table, telling her story and how she kind of turned it and reframed the mindset of certain things that happened in her life into a positive. And, hey, let's make it funny as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's very funny.
She is.
Yeah.
She was a cool hang.
For sure.
Getting into just, what should aspiring speakers, what should they be concentrating on, in your opinion?
Well, I do have a lot of aspiring speakers contact me and they want representation, and maybe we're not able to represent them. They're just not far left along in their career. And, I just kind of give them the best advice that I can, which would be go out and speak for anybody and everybody that'll let you speak for them. You know, regardless of the money, go get reps under your belt.
Let's say reps,
If they can get reps under their belts, and, you know, you never know who's going to be in the room when you go out and speak. You know, there might be somebody that's in the room that, you know, has a business or an organization that they really connect with you, and they, you know, have a good budget and they're willing to pay you well. You just never know how one thing can lead to another. And, you know, I always encourage them to build their social media following. You know, maybe you start a podcast. I don't know. But you've got to drive your online presence somehow, in addition to getting out there and people hearing your message.
Mm-hmm. Are them having a podcast becoming a big factor for you?
It always helps. I mean, the more ears and the more eyes that are on a speaker, the easier they are to book.
Yeah.
So
podcasts are so collaborative too that you just like inherently they're in more circles. Yeah.
They're self-built marketing machines.
Yeah.
You know, out of this conversation, you know, after all is said and done, we deploy it and everything like that. I mean, there's at least 20 clips in this. You know what I mean? That you can share short form reels and stuff like that.
Right.
And of course, if anybody's listening, you should be talking to us about that. It'syourshow.co for those types of things.
Shameless
plug.
I love the eye contact. That's my favorite.
You got to do the look to camera, the LTC. So yeah, I mean, a lot of them, I have a friend of mine who's a speaker and he does a great job. So hesitant to share he won't put any long form speeches on YouTube. He won't do any shorts. He's like, well, why would they come see me otherwise? And I go, dude, they'll still come to see you, for crying out loud. He doesn't do it. It's crazy.
That's
like, just come on. You got so much content right there. You know, you find a lot of like hesitancy from speakers, or you come across that kind of a notion at all?
Not really.
Really?
No, I mean,
you recommend them doing it? I mean, I guess you do.
I mean, you know, I don't think that the average listener is going to sit and listen to that. You know, they're going to listen to 2 to 3 minutes of something. So that's what I typically recommend. I mean, I'm not necessarily opposed to putting some full length talk up online, but do I think that the listener who's viewing that or watching that, they're not watching 30, 45 minutes.
Right. Maybe put it on the background or something like that.
Yeah. Or, you know, hey, here's 3 minutes or 4 minutes of this message or clip or talk or whatever you want to call it. And if you want to hear the full talk, here's a link to click to go see that, you know, but most people are not going to spend that kind of time to sit down for 45 minutes and listen to a talk.
It's getting so much more important to do that. But the fact, I've heard this stat the other day that the world is producing so much content that there's no way you can consume it all in like 10 lifetimes.
Right.
Yeah. It's so much coming out.
Nor would you want to.
I know. And that leads me to the other thing is like one of the frustrations I find, and I'm in a lot of different speaking circles, I come across a lot of people that want to be speakers. And I equate it to, well, I can't play an instrument, I can't sing, but I love being on stage. I'll speak about anything. But I'm like, you know, I almost want to, you know, here I'm talking about, you know, speakers who need to stand for something. My TED Talk would be planets and moons. It's a concept I came up with based on my business partner, John. He's about to put out a book. He wants nothing to do with social media. He doesn't want fame. He doesn't want notoriety, but he wants his concept of there is no crisis to resonate with other small business owners. He wants that to be the star.
Yeah.
Is that something you look for in a speaker, or is that something like do you look for their big idea? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. I think, you know, if they have some sort of content that's going to impact people, that's going to make a difference, I mean, that's what we're looking for.
Yeah.
Charisma, delivery, methodology, all that stuff come into play.
Absolutely. All of that comes into play. And, you know, we really like for them to have a publisher that's, you know, with a major publishing house, not self-published, because they're helping drive podcast opportunities and television appearances and all those sorts of things that we don't specialize in, where a publisher does. Mm-hmm. So we really rely on the publisher to help us kind of market a speaker. Yeah. Obviously the best marketing is, if a book comes out and it sells 5 million copies, that's good marketing. Yeah. That helps us.
It's funny because books right now are like, if you have a book, it's a business card at this point. It's part of the hat trick, I guess, or the triad of what you need. It used to be being a speaker, being an author. And I've heard like even being a podcast host has trumped being an author. Yeah. I've heard that stat not too long ago.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Just because I guess it shows you're malleable, you're changing with the times, as not everybody sits down to read a book anymore, but they can pop in the audio.
I'm happy to read a book, but I have to listen to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to. That's just me.
Totally.
If I sit down and read a book, I'll be asleep in 2 minutes. And it's not because of the nature of the book or the content of the book. It's just something I have to take my power nap.
Right.
And then I'm bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and I can read the book. It's just getting the time to do that. It's troubling.
Yeah. Last year, I have, in my younger years, I was not a very big reader. Mm-hmm. And last year, I just really made a commitment to I always want to be reading something, going through something. And I had heard Charlie Kirk say that he read like 200 books in a year. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, how in the world does that guy do that?
Seriously.
Or how did he do that?
That makes sense. He seems very learned.
Yeah, that's
Some
crazy.
people are just built, their minds are just sponges.
Yeah.
They just absorb information so much better than a lot of people. He was really good at absorbing and, processing it. And then, being able to call it up at a moment's notice.
Retaining all of it.
Gosh.
Yeah. It's impressive.
That's almost divinely inspired in a way.
It was impressive.
He was able to access a portion of his brain. Because, there wasn't like a lot of the people, when you talk about even just getting into the realm of autism and things of that nature, they're not like deficient. It's almost like they have access to parts of their brain that we don't.
Yeah.
That's what kind of puts them on the spectrum. He almost was kind of like that in a way. I would dare kind of speculate,
Yeah.
Because, he would be able to like, dude, where did you get that from? My gosh.
So quick.
Yeah.
Quick with an answer always. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But, I'm more of a reader now than I ever have been. Mm-hmm. And
what's your go-to? What do you like reading?
Oh, gosh. I'm reading a book right now that is called the 4-8 Principle, and it's just all talks about joy and how we all need more joy, and we can be the ones to perpetuate joy if we choose to. Mm-hmm. And so it's a really good book.
It is a decision we can make.
Yeah.
A lot of people forget that.
Yeah.
As always, even though I've had it on its face, I have my favorite book that I go to all the time, Pendulum, which is a good one. Those guys that's a great book. Talks about patterns in history and societal shifts in attitude that happen. So everything we're going, like essentially the book lays out everything we're going through right now, as tumultuous as it seems, is for a reason. It happens every 80 years. Mm-hmm. And typically at this point, a bloody calamity has to happen to kind of reset everybody. Yeah. And it's kind of happening, but not, Yeah. And I always say, well, look at, 80 years ago was World War II. 80 years before that was the Civil War. 80 years before that, Revolutionary War. All these little resetting big moments that just made us go, okay, we need to stop doing that.
Yeah.
And the next generation kind of pulls the pendulum down. It's a very interesting read.
Yeah.
Very heady.
First, I thought you said it every 8 years. I was like,
oh, no, 80.
80's a little more palatable.
Yeah.
Pendulum.
Yeah.
I'll
Great
have to
book.
check that one out.
It's a good one. It's a good listen.
Okay.
Because it's a heady read. It's very cerebral. The authors, the main guy, his name is Roy H. Williams. He wrote a series of books in the 90s called The Wizard of Ads. And from that, it resonated with a bunch of radio folk like me who wrote ads for a living and stuff. That turned into the Wizard Academy, which is in Austin, Texas, overlooking the lowlands of Austin. It's gorgeous, especially at sunset. Very prolific thinker, is very creative. He's a big Don Quixote guy, even to the point where he's got a wedding chapel on site that he offers for free to people. They can book it. They're at this point, they're probably years out in booking, but he gained a lot of PR and press for his 21st century business school known as the Wizard Academy by proxy of Chapel Dulcinea, which sits on the property. And they have a beautiful setting to get married and stuff like that. It's very cool. Very cool. But they wrote that book because as an advertising agency, what was working and what they were saying, like literally the year prior, all of a sudden something switched once upon a time and nothing what they were doing was working for their clients. And he's like, well, I'm a student of what makes people tick. What happened? Yeah. And they looked into other books that were written, like one book called Generations by Strauss and Howe. And then there's another book called The Fourth Turning, which apparently we're going through right now. And they said, well, we see what you're saying, but we'll expand on it and say, instead of it being like systolic and diastolic measurements of a heart rate or like the tides, we see it as like a pendulum. There's a positive and negative thing that happens over 20-year periods. Very interesting. Yeah, that's my book description in a nutshell. Nice. As bad as it can be. Who's on your radar right now that like you're itching? You're like, oh my gosh, if I got you, man, I could go to town. Is there anybody that comes to mind?
Well, not that I would necessarily want to say on the podcast, I was like, to be honest.
Well, so there is somebody we can talk about offline.
There is. We'll talk about that offline. Yeah.
What is it you want people to know as we wrap up? Anything else we're covering?
I don't know. I think the one thing that kind of drives me and us to do what we do is that we want to know that we're making an eternal impact in people's lives all over the country through the speakers and artists that we represent. And many of those people we may never meet, this side of heaven. But we want to make an impact and make a difference.
You ever think about speaking yourself?
Nope. I'm behind the scenes. Thank you very much.
I had to put him in handcuffs to get him on this
What's
podcast.
That?
Yeah.
I said I had to get him in handcuffs to get him on this podcast.
Well, you're kind of doing it with your own podcast. I mean, getting out there in public.
Well, she had to talk me
That's
into
what
it.
I mean.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, you're doing a great job. I love what you're doing.
Thank you.
I wish you nothing but the best. And I think that a lot of that is yet to come, especially we're only on episode 2 of your podcast at this point.
Yeah.
For those of you listening, make sure if there's something, check out GOA Speakers.com. If you're in that space and you're looking for really good, impactful, faith-based speakers that you want to book for an event, GOASpeakers.com is the website to go to. And of course, if you're listening and this was impactful for you, helped you with your business, share our podcast out as well. Rate, review it, share it. MMTBP.com is the truncated version of Mostly Middle Tennessee Business Podcast. You could also plug that in, but it's really long. I'm really good at coming up with marketing concepts for other people, but myself apparently. So it's like the cobbler's shoes scenario. So guys, I really do appreciate it. Having you
thanks
on.
for having us.
Absolutely. It's been a wonderful conversation, and let's get into our weekend.
Yeah, sounds good.
Awesome.